G'day, g'day, g'day. This is Charlie, and I'm coming to you today with your daily dose of business inspiration. Topic number 197, the art of effective communication. I love communication. I actually like talking about it. I like practicing it. And I will admit that sometimes I am not the best communicator at all. But I want to get into it. I do want to rehash what we've covered before and add a few more thoughts, or at least I hope there's a few more thoughts that are getting added here. And just go through it. Communication in business, or effective communication in business, gives you clarity, enhances collaboration, and assists with conflict resolution. Clear communication allows for messages to be understood and acted upon effectively and efficiently. Collaboration means that the team will work better together, and conflict resolution should stand on its own. It does enable you to maintain positive relationships within your team. So, effective communication is really, really, really important. It is something that we all need to practice. It is something that we all need to learn to begin with. Some of us are better communicators than others, but most of us require some basis of training to understand how to bring that communication into the workplace, into our teams, into our professional lives. And then once we've done that, we need to practice it and we need to keep practicing it. It's not something that you learn and you stop doing anything with it. It's a perishable skill. If you don't practice your communication, you'll remember some of it, but you forget a lot of it as well. So you've got to keep practicing it. And I find that I need to go back through some of my old notes. I need to listen to some of my old podcasts or some podcasts. I need to go and watch some videos or just read some of the books that I used to read about communication. How you can improve in communication within for yourself and within your team. You need to practice active listening. We talk about that a lot. Two eyes, two ears, one mouth. Use them in that ratio. So you need to be listening and looking twice as much as you do talking. That also means that you can start, well, hopefully, it will allow you to create some empathy with your fellow communicators. What it does allow you to do, and I don't think I've touched on this before, active listening will also let you pick up on the unspoken things or the things that are being said between the lines that someone may not necessarily want to say explicitly. And once you start to pick up on those cues and those hints, you can then start to act on them, whether you acknowledge them outright, whether you just start to say, okay, well, this is obviously an issue because I'm picking this up. Let's try this. Let's see how this goes. Active listening is a really good skill to develop. It also means, just for people who are sort of saying, I don't get active listening. I'm sitting here talking to you. I'm explaining something to you. We're going through a process. And instead of engaging with what I'm saying, instead of concentrating on what I'm saying and taking it in and digesting it, you might be hearing it, but you're also thinking about how you're going to respond to it, what you're going to say in response, what answers you're going to be giving me, rather than just being in the moment and listening to what I'm saying. So active listening is being in that moment, listening to what's being said, actually taking it in. If you're not listening actively, you're generally either off with the fairies, thinking about that cup of coffee you're going to get when the meeting's finished, or you're thinking about how you're going to respond to what's being said. Concise messaging is a really important strategy for improving your communications. Try to communicate your message clearly and concisely so that you avoid misunderstandings. Now, that can be really difficult because sometimes you don't understand or you don't know how something is going to land on the receiving party, how what the level of knowledge the receiving party has. And you're trying to get that balance between not dumbing it down so much that the receiving party feels like they're being made to feel like an idiot, um, but not talking at such a high level that they have no idea what you're saying. So one of the things you can do with concise messaging is remove the jargon, as much jargon as you can from the conversation. Keep your acronyms to a minimum. I was listening to what is it? Keeping It Real with Jack and Rail. And they were having a good old giggle because IBM apparently has meetings and their entire way of communication is talking in acronyms. You could have an entire conversation in a group with IBM and it's just all acronyms. And if you don't know what those acronyms are, you're kind of sitting there going, I've got no idea what you just said. It's like listening to people speak as foreign language. Jargon is things like, we need to double down. We're gaining traction on this. It's sometimes you might call them marketing wank words. Excuse the French. I hope I don't get banned for that one. But it's those terms that you use that may or may not mean something, but they probably mean something very specific to a very specific group of people. So try to keep your jargon and your acronyms to a minimum. Use clear language. Don't dumb it down so much that your recipient feels that they're being spoken down to, but don't have it so high level that no one really understands what you're talking about. Feedback. Encourage and provide constructive feedback to improve the communication and performance. Now, some of the things I can do, and I'm going to tie those two together actually, concise messaging and feedback. Sometimes when I'm just explaining something, I'll think about, I've got to explain why the mail messages aren't getting through. And I will say to someone, if I was to say to you this term or this statement, does that mean anything? What does it mean to you? And they go, I really don't know. That gives me immediately a level that I need to be talking at. I haven't made them feel dumb, I hope, by saying, does it mean anything to you? But it has given me that ability to get a little bit of feedback from them as to where they're at and what level of knowledge they have. But getting feedback within your communication is really, really important. Some of the things that you're going to encounter with communication, some of the barriers that you might encounter with communications. Cultural sensitivity, be aware of cultural differences and adapt your communication styles accordingly. That can be very difficult, particularly in the types of societies we have now, where we do have a lot of people from different cultures all coming together. Some of those people might actually have grown up enough or been in our culture enough that they've adapted themselves. So we don't, you don't want to, again, you don't want to be dumbing things down. You don't want to be making or condescending to people because of it. So you do need to just be aware of some of those things. Non-verbal communication. Now, I love this. This is the body language and non-verbal cues. There is only so much of a conversation that comes from the words that we say. Most of the conversation, I'm going to say 70% of the conversation, comes from our tone of voice, our facial expressions, the way we hold our body, the way we move our hands, and then the rest of it comes from the actual words we're saying. So if I was to say to you, hey, that was a fantastic job. Sounds great, right? And you feel really good about it. How's this? That was a fantastic job. Do you feel good about that? No. Did you see my face? Did you see my voice? It wasn't high pitched and happy. It was downgrading. It was kind of sarcastic, really. So the nonverbal communications, as someone who is who wants to be a good communicator, we need to be aware of all of those cues. Now that gets really hard when we're using written communication, and we're doing text messages back and forwards, or instant messages back and forwards, or we're using email or help desk, and sometimes we just need to put in parentheses, this isn't meant to sound hard. I'm sorry. If it does, I do apologize up front. I realize it can sound hard. It can sound bad. I'm really just trying to get to the crux of the matter here. I have that problem because I'm a very direct communicator. I will say things, and sometimes people feel that the way I phrase something is a dig at them. And when they've gone back and read it later, they've gone, oh no, that wasn't a dig at me. That was just because I was in that place of insecurity. I wasn't secure about what was going on, and I felt that you were having a go at me, but you weren't. You were just trying to help me. So sometimes you need to just sort of put some flowery stuff around what you're saying just to make it a little easier. And use appropriate communication tools and technology to facilitate effective communication. So I'm using video to do all these podcasts and all these inspirations. I will default to using text messaging if I'm trying to get things done quickly. So I will use instant messenger. I will use text messages on the phone. I will use web messaging, the messaging clients that you can get on websites to try and get conversations going. I actually really like using instant messengers because it means I can drop a message, someone can respond, and I can respond, and we can keep that message going back and forwards. And it's more dynamic than an email, but it's not. You don't have to be as present. You don't require the person to be there at the time. It's good for dropping those quick messages. So, just some thoughts about communication. I've got to say that most of the arguments I've had in my life, most of the misunderstandings I've had in my life have come from someone misreading what someone else has said or misinterpreting what someone else has said. And that's because you've got cultural differences, you've got differences in the way you were brought up, you've got issues associated with previous experiences. You've got people not understanding what certain words mean, and there's an assumption that that word means this thing, and this person's interpreted it entirely differently. Quite rightly, they've interpreted it through their lens, but not through the lens that we're talking. So it's really, really important that we, as people who want to be good communicators, get all that right. What do you guys think about communicating? What are your challenges? What are you finding works? What doesn't work? What have I missed in this one today that you want to add to and just make this conversation even better? Come across and join me at Locals. Ask charlyleetham.locals.com. You can join the community there, become a supporter, and join in the community, the conversation, the communication. It's communication, isn't it? Join in the conversation. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to see your insights on the matters too. Otherwise, please remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, ring the notification bell so you find out when I drop more content. If you can leave a review wherever you are watching or listening to this, I would very much appreciate that. And maybe share this content with someone else today. Apart from that, I will see you guys all tomorrow for topic number 198. We're going back to talk about authenticity and marketing again because it's such an important topic. See you tomorrow, guys. Bye.